politics. Okay, I try really hard not to bring anything personal onto this channel, just cause how boring, you know? Like, what do you care? However, I did this experiment recently, and for it to make sense, I gotta open up about something, so here goes. With the exception of interviewing KIRK WINDSTEIN back in April, and my friends from back home and drive-by during their Richmond tour stop, and the dudes in Leatherlung, this year has been utter dog shit. Just one huge L after L after L, that means loss. Baseball bat straight up the butt from January 1st till now for a variety of reasons. But whatever, all good, right? The weather always changes eventually, so I ain't complaining. And it's like one of my all-time favorite quotes. Shit happens, man. Whatever. So there's that. Now there's this, which ties it all together. Eyehategod been a favorite of mine since Dope Sick. Ironic too, considering the name, because I'm a pretty faithful guy, but even the late Joey LACAZE, rest in peace, said that their name didn't really have anything to do with anything specific, so they rule regardless. So a couple weeks ago, I'm going hard on the self-titled, then Nomadic, and then Suffering, just the whole discography. In case you're unfamiliar with their sound, they're a sludge band. Sludge, like slow oftentimes. Now, perhaps one may assume, and as I've even theorized before, that listening to a band like Eyehategod during what I call a down year might exacerbate all the bad shit even further. Makes sense in my opinion. However, I noticed something very unusual, like something really strange happening to my mood during this period. Mind-bogglingly, amidst all the shit, I actually started to feel better. Like, instead of being all, oh, it was more just like, well, shit happens. And I couldn't figure out why, because nothing external had changed at all. If anything, more bad stuff kept piling up. More bills, more stress, more heartbreak, all that. So one night I'm watching this old interview with Mike and Jimmy, and they're just talking to the interviewer about this, that, and the other thing, and Mike mentions how he has had people tell him before that they were ready to check out and say later, but Eyehategod's music helped them through it. And then it hit me. It totally hit me as to why I, though not anywhere near that level of hopelessness, was suddenly feeling better as a result of the self-titled and Nomadic history, etc. It was because I realized there was someone else out there basically telling me, hey man, you are not alone. And that was it, right there. There was somebody else, many others, going through not only the same sort of shit I am, but far worse, sadly. So I decided to do this experiment. The results I'll tell you about after I explain just what the hell I did. I was like, okay, if listening to this slow, heavy, dirgy shit somehow gave me a more positive outlook on things, and since Eyehategod's discography ain't huge, let me see what happens if I up the dosage like a lot for 2 weeks straight. Nothing but. So that's exactly what I did, and since this is a music channel and not a knitting class, what's up Sensei Kreese, Karate Kid, I'm gonna tell you about who specifically I had playing much of the time and what they sounded like and sung about, all that. And I ended up listening to a lot of bands, each in one sitting, and I followed a certain criteria to make sure I was staying in line, which was this. They had to be somebody I'd either never heard of or maybe knew of barely but never listened to before, and I tried to keep them relatively new with material like somewhere during the last 2 or 3 years, and I wanted to try and stay strictly death doom, death sludge. For a well-known example of that, think somebody like Primitive Man. So the way I found these bands was by going to Encyclopedia Metallum and just looking there with those search terms, though at times I had to omit death from the equation because that obviously also brings up death metal bands, which are commonly also fast, so that wouldn't work. And since the sea is so huge, I just looked at like, you know, what names caught my eye and their logo and their art and what their lyrical themes were, that kind of stuff. So out of probably like 75 to 100 acts realistically, I just narrowed it down to a few to talk about here, and I gave each a score out of 10. Importantly though, please note that the score, specifically a lower one, did not mean bad. I was judging by how true to the usual definition they were, meaning like tempo and BPM. So if a band would either sometimes or more often than sometimes play fast parts, that would rank them lower in the sludge factor. Again, that does not in any way mean bad, because like, hell, Eyehategod certainly has a lot of faster songs or parts of songs, and I love the hell out of them even though they're fast. One more thing, I only listened while I was at home. Like, I wanted to be able to hear their whole albums or EPs in one sitting. So that meant if I was out somewhere, like in my car or exercising or something, I'd only have on either Eyehategod, BUZZOV, or SOURVEIN. Just because, you know, it's a pain in the ass to be fucking around with your phone while you're driving, or you gotta get out and go into somewhere, whatever. Oh yeah, and they had to either be on Bandcamp or Apple Music. So okay, here goes. These are merely the notes I took while I was listening, so if it sounds a little fucked up or something like that, like the way I'm talking, well, shit. First band, Mournful Ruin. Now, while everybody's either going crazy over the new Blood Incantation or saying they're a Reddit band now, oh, Reddit Incantation, I'm personally still floored by those guys' other side project, Spectral Voice, who I did not think could get any weirder or more bizarre than Eroded Corridors, but holy shit, that Sparagamos album from February takes it to another level. Oh my god. But Mournful Ruin, I bring up Blood and Spectral because I think they're all from like the same area in Colorado, which I'm starting to wonder, does Colorado have its own sound? Like that real, let's call it recreational dispensary core kind of doom? It might, but okay, here are the notes from Mournful Ruin's fucking desiccated, however the fuck you say that, desiccated demo. Straight up, true to its name, death sludge. Heavy, echoey reverb, mostly slow except for a few small sections in the second song I can't remember the name of. Weirdly, this is the second band I ran into that covered Shoot Me by Grief. Actually, it was Fentanyl Tap Water, the other one, but I'll get to them. What a name, huh? I really like these guys a lot. The singer sounds like a monster from another planet or something, or some fucking below, you know, or surface of the earth, but mostly just power chords used, but occasional parts with like, what do you call it when like you're riffing on a single string for melody? That kind of thing. There's a few riffs like that that remind me of CROWBAR, kind of, so very slow, very heavy, crushing, mood-wise pretty damn depressing, but in a soothing kind of way. And despite the way they sound, you'd think they might be the average run-of-the-mill edgelords, but because of a couple samples and intros and stuff, you can tell they got a sense of humor, because like, there's this one intro, I think it's to the second song, where you're like, wow, they actually went there. Was that too soon? I don't know, I won't give it away, but I was laughing. Sludge factor, 9.5. Next, Death Cult Resurrection by a band called Anharat. This is true to form, slow death doom once again. Something about it kind of reminded me of early 90s stuff, like slow incantation proper, like the Relapse band. Thor's Hammer a little maybe. The singer even kind of sounded similar to the chick from that band, but very punishing beats, and I'd recommend these dudes to anyone that wants to hear death doom for the first time. Some of their quote faster parts have this bolt thrower sort of feel, and maybe it's the way the lead guitar notes seem to follow the double bass during those parts. I don't know. But yeah, the singer's got a kind of voice I love. It's that super low but thick growl that's both from the gut and the throat. Yeah, I don't know. Thor's Hammer is a good comparison for a biggie. Sludge factor, 8.5. Okay, yes, the very charming Fentanyl Tap Water with Age of Scales. The singer indeed reminded me of Mike 9, and I think this was recorded live with only a bunch of room mics, maybe except for the drums, but definitely very sludgy and crusty guitar-wise, but that may have only been due to the way it was recorded as opposed to the actual guitar tones, because you really couldn't hear them all that much. It was faster in some sections, and I actually love this kind of very staticky, fuzzy recording quality, and very Eyehategod at times. I'd love to see these guys live. Their slower riffs are very doomy, Sabbath-inspired. If Sabbath themselves were like, yeah, we're gonna try to play that sludge stuff, a genre that we ourselves largely helped create, but I liked them a lot. Overall Sludge score, 7.5 out of 10. It would have been 8.5 if not for a couple faster parts a bunch, so there you go. Goat Thieves. This is pretty rockin', pretty sludgy and fuzzy, like screamy, throaty vocals from the gut from one vocalist, because I think there's two, and the other guy could probably fit pretty nicely somewhere in a metalcore type of band, because he honestly sounds slightly like tough, but slow just the way I love it. The drums have a swing just the way I love them. One of the singers reminded me a whole bunch of Mule Boy from BONGZILLA. Very doom genre riffs, like if you were to put Bullets era SKYNYRD through a sludge pedal, which is a formula I love to pieces, then yeah, you'd end up with this. Every time I thought they might be on the verge of breaking into a fast beat, they never did, so I really appreciated that. 10 out of 10. Jurassic Kong, exactly what you'd think a band like Jurassic Kong song should sound like. The guitars were seriously Mortician level heavy at times. Drums were awesomely reverbed with this just like slow, extremely doomy kind of thing, and riffs that reminded me of Primitive Man. Vocals were not screamy, but like yelly, let's call them. Awesome amount of very heavy fuzz, and maybe it's just their theme or the names of the songs, but this is a fun sludge band, even with the riffs that are very doomy and like, yeah man, wonderful reverb on the drums and the vocals. Overall sludge score, 10 out of 10, no question. Alright, this last band, LUURCH, as you might easily imagine, whenever you got the word doom in the equation, it's a fucking wild card, man. Just like I riffed about for an entire video a few months back. So what that means for these guys is that death isn't present, and instead it's very Scott Weinrich based, like sludgy and heavy, yes, but very deeply hookish. Awesome and catchy, but not death sludge or Eyehategod per se. And like, the vocals are kind of yelly, not screamy. Like, they don't remind me a ton of Down, but if you like Down, you shouldn't have a hard time liking these guys at all. Maybe I say that because the first song reminds me of Levitation a lot from the Purple EP, but these are very well written songs, like, you know, with proper bridges and choruses and stuff that I could easily see a college radio station playing. Like, yeah man, very in line with St. Vitus and Trouble style doom. Occasionally deathy vocals, but mostly yelly and raspy, and like one of those bands where you wonder, like, why aren't these guys bigger? Alright, now that discussion of a small sample of a large, fucking subset, whatever you call that, in this experiment is done, what were the results? What was the effect they had on my mood and shit? Honestly, not really much. It didn't exactly redline me, and I mean, if anything, there was a slight improvement, but I wouldn't pin that on the actual music. I'd say it was just more for, like, you know, the process of checking out new bands and looking at their album covers and their Instagrams and flyers and all that kind of shit. Like, you know, the sort of stuff that we all love doing, you know? Like, it's a distraction at the very least to what otherwise might be a less than happy reality outside of it all, so yeah, there you go. So like, I guess what I take from this is, I firmly believe it is indeed possible to pick your ass up with the help of music and get all fired up and dedicated to turning things around, but like, sometimes you just don't have the fucking gasoline, and I ain't even saying you can't pull shit out of thin air and go ham on your problems. I'm just saying that sometimes that's really fucking hard to do, and perhaps one way to get on that path is to wallow in misery for a while. Not forever, but at least a little while to maybe realize, like, hey man, you're worth more than all this dog shit. So yeah, maybe its take is needed for pain for a while until you can get to perseverance, HATEBREED, and then it's time to roll, man. Fuck all this shit, cause it is go time. I will say this though, and I've brought this dude up before, I'll just tell you straight up. CJ Ortiz, the metal motivator on Instagram, that guy is the real deal in terms of helping people get their heads into better places, like, no joke. I mean, I am in no way qualified to speak on anything serious like that, but if I wasn't tuned into that guy's wisdom on a daily basis, I think I'd be pretty fucked. So, as always, major hails to CJ. But alright my friends, I fucking mean that too. I am out of here. So if you did like this video, cool, maybe you can give it a thumbs up. Or if you just like hearing somebody bullshit about heavy metal, then Black Sabbath your ass right into that subscribe button. And we'll see you next time on Concrete Spew, but until then, later maniacs.